Hey guys, and welcome back to a Road to a Swift project. In today's episode, we will be learning about how APIs can help our movie app in the future. API is just an acronym for Application Programming Interface, and essentially allows two applications to talk to each other and share data. So, when thinking about our movie app, essentially when we refresh the page or refresh the app, we want the newest trending movies, the newest trending TV shows, the top rated movies and the top rated TV shows to appear. This is done through an API call. An API call is essentially a request that is sent from a client, aka the user, from things such as a web browser, an app, or it could also be another server, to another API point to perform a certain operation. The API request is then processed, and the server, if available, returns a response, which usually contains the data confirming that the action was successfully completed. This is the response action of the API. So we have a request from the user, and then either our server or another server we've set up an API against sends a response. This response is typically provided in JSON format, but don't worry about JSON formatting, we will cover that in the next episode. For now, we will just cover the API calls of request and then the database with the response. So, there are four main requests from the client side, i.e. from the app, web server, or wherever your application is. These being get, which retrieves data, fetching data without changing anything on the server at all. For example, fetching a list of the movies, retrieving single movie data, search results, or loading the actual trending movies, trending TV shows, top rated movies and TV shows. The get calls are read only and are never actually modified. Then we have a post request, which creates a new resource. In this application, we won't really be using it as much as a get or an update or a delete, but it's still useful to know. So essentially, a post sends data to a server to create something new. For example, if this app were to have a login form or a registration form, we could use it to create a new user account. If it had reviews, we could submit a review form. If the app has a paywall, we could use it to process a payment. So essentially, a post call enables you to add new data to the server. Then the third API call response is a put, which updates or replaces resources. And it can update an entire resource or create it if it does not exist. This will be used in our application to update the trending movies, the trending TV shows, the top rated movies and the top rated TV shows. Then the final API call request is delete, which does what it says. It removes resources from a specific resource in the server. This could be, for example, deleting wish lists of the TV shows or movies you want to see, deleting a user account, or if the app was, for example, a shopping app, we could remove items from a cart, or we could even cancel an order. Those are essentially the four main API calls from the user front end to the database. Now, let's briefly cover the response, i.e. from the database, i.e. the backend, to the front end, i.e. the user. This essentially involves the database sending through the API server some status codes, and if it is successful, we will then be sent a JSON file which will then be decoded. But, as previously mentioned, we will cover JSON and how to decode it and what it is in the next episode. Let's cover the status codes for now. Status codes are 3-digit numbers that the server sends to our front end and typically are in the hundreds range. So we have 100s, this being informational, 200s status codes are success status codes, with 200 meaning that the request the user sent has succeeded. For example, if the user sent a GET request, then we have 201, meaning the new resource has created. For example, if the user sent a POST request. Then we have 300 status codes are redirectional, 400 for access, 403 forbidden, meaning permission is denied. And then we have the most famous one, 404 not found, i.e. the resource does not exist. And finally we have 500 status codes, which are basically server errors, with the most common server errors being 500 internal server error, this is a server-side problem, and 503 service unavailable, meaning the server is temporarily down. All these things and more will be useful for when we connect our movie app to a movie database API. Hopefully this provided a bit more color on APIs if you had never heard of them before, but don't worry if you haven't heard of them or you're still stuck. Practicing using APIs and using JSONs and using requests and using responses will only make you understand it more. We will be doing this in the next few episodes whilst covering APIs for our movie app. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a comment, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one when we connect our app to a database and start actually using these APIs. Alright, see you next time.